You're on mute, Stephanie.
Sorry, it was brought to my attention in the chat that I never introduced myself. In my haste to not be tardy and not misuse anyone's time, I just went right into the presentation. So for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, my name is Stephanie Simeon, and I am the Interim Executive Director for the Fruitvale Community Land Trust. I came on board in December of last year, and I have been excited about the way that the leadership is moving forward and the dynamic programmings that you'll be able to see. Some have already started. So as you can see in the intro and looking back, you did see India Walton, who was our previous executive director and a major cheerleader for the organization. As those of you have known who have read the paper, she has since moved on. And because she's pursuing a political career, she cannot also hold a post at a charity. So that is why you're seeing me. I have the privilege of also working along with Jamila, who's running the presentation, and also Lindita, who's our Director of Membership and Communication. A lot of you have already communicated with Jamila or have heard her voice on previous presentations as she was navigating. Like I said, I'm very excited to be a part. We have a dynamic board. And we have so much to share with you this evening. I see that there's a lot of questions in the chat, but I will make sure that we get to those questions as soon as I get done with this portion. Next slide. One of the fun things that I wanted to make sure the membership knew, and those of you who aren't members but are just here participating as a community resident, is that in wanting to make sure that we're doing development without displacement, we've brought on two consultants. One is Jennifer Kaminsky, and you will hear from her later this evening, who is helping us with our strategic plan. And you can't go forward without making sure that we're all on the same page. One word that was mentioned during the previous video was unity and collaboration, and we have to work together. And one of the ways that we can do that is making sure we're all on the same message, that we have the same goal for the beautiful community that we all live and work in. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure we go through a really good strategic planning process, not only with the board, the staff, and the membership and the residents, to make sure that we are really on the goal. We know what we're doing and how we're going to get it accomplished. You will not hear from Felicia Brown, who was our membership consultant tonight, because she's at a training out of town, but I will share some updates about our membership. We want to do an overhaul, not because our membership wasn't working, but because we want to make sure that it was more dynamic. We want to make sure that your voices are heard, that we have a way for you all to do that, that we have some offerings, some things that when you become a member, you might get some swag from us, and we can talk about ways that what that membership means, and how much power your voice counts. And we'll also be talking about our annual membership meeting, which should be happening possibly the 4th Saturday in July, and more on that a little bit later. Next slide. So the moment that I've been waiting for is to let you all know about the Fruitvale Community Land Trust, our programs. So one of our programs that you probably have not heard about, but has recently started, is our opt-in owner-occupied rehabs. And Jamila has been a major support in helping us do that. So has Brandy, and the board it's been fully supportive of this. And if you say, how is this, what does this have to do with the land trust? One of the things that helps people stay in these neighborhoods and keep them sustainable is by making sure we remove the hazards that would cause them to want to leave. And one of those major hazards of these beautiful old homes that we own is that the cost of the repairs are extremely high. So we have the board has allowed us to allocate some dollars to help people who own their homes in the Fruitvale community and in Maston Park to receive up to $40,000 in grants per unit. So if you have a two-family, we can still help you. And even if you, and in your two-family, if you have a tenant that is behind on rent because of COVID-related challenges, we can also help that tenant get caught up in rent. The Fruitvale Community Land Trust has been really great at bringing in national funding. And so we're making sure that we can stretch that funding as much as possible and as help as many people as possible. And so we have an opt-in owner-occupied rehab that when you opt in with us, you will get rehab, and then you would be able to have a ground lease with us so that one, you can get a position on our board, and we'll talk about that later. But also we can make sure that the property on that land stays maintained and is sustainable for that neighborhood. The second program that you all are familiar with is the shared equity first-time homeowner product that we offer. Our first pilot was done with Habitat, and I am excited to say that we have 2 homeowners already, and for those 2 homes on Rose. So even during the pandemic, where a lot of things were put on hold, New York State allowed anything that was a new build to continue construction. So we were able to continue construction through the COVID pandemic, and the homeowners have been identified, and we will be posting more information about that and the ribbon cutting and such on that when those come about. So that is a program that we have for first-time homeowner. That is a program that we look to continue on. And that takes us right to our last program, which is the rent-to-own multifamily housing. So I don't know if this was shared during the previous presentations that you all participated in regarding the 50-unit development, the proposed 50-unit development, but I thought that you all should know that that will be part of a rent-to-own process. And there is a presentation up on our website that talks about the 15-year period where it's affordable and rental, and then after that, we will be working with that tenant if they choose to stay on to go into home ownership. I just want to state for the record that there has not been one time where this board of directors and me coming on that we have not thought about home ownership and how that relates to the long-term stability of a neighborhood. But as a community-based organization that receives public dollars, we also have to make sure we're meeting people where they are. And so it would be out of character for an organization that receives these tax dollars to only work with one set of folks in the Fruitvale. We want to be able to provide people high quality housing at a price that they can afford. So if for right now, renting is what you can afford, we want to make sure that it's in the control of the land trust, that it's affordable for you, and that when you're ready for home ownership, we will have a product ready for you as well. And so I don't know if that was shared before, but I did want to make sure that people understood that we want to make sure we have multiple vehicles to keep people in the Fruitvale. And we have multiple ways to reach everyone that's living in the community. So if you own your home, if you want to own your home, or if home ownership is just not feasible for you right now, we will have a product for you. And the whole hope is to make sure that we are doing, again, development without displacing anyone. If you love this community, we want to make sure there's a way for you to stay. Next slide. And so, as I promised, this would be our first set of question and answers. I have the clock up here to keep us mindful of the time, just because we have a dynamic agenda for you all today, but I will stop talking and listen to you.
As of right now, we have no questions in the chat, but guys, feel free to put your questions and concerns about the chat. We have our first one. How do we join the FBCLT? I follow what's going on, but how do she follows what's going on, but how does she join?
we will definitely let you know how to do that. We've just updated our website. So we will, and that's one of the reasons why we'll be talking about membership and how you can join, and what those benefits will be. So while we're doing a scrub of that, you can still join as a member, and that information is up on the website, I believe.
Okay, Mr. Autry says, how are you preparing people for the wonderful possibility of home ownership and wealth building?
Great question. For those of you who know me outside of Fruitvale Community Land Trust, you also know that I also reside as the executive director of Heart of the City Neighborhoods. And we are an affordable housing organization. That's all we do. So we will partner, they can partner with us to make sure that folks are provided with home buyer education. And because I'm involved right now, I'll make sure there's post-purchase education, because a lot of people forget things. They get the certificate, they get in the house, and then it's like, oh, so we'll make sure that that's provided. And also because they are going to become an automatic member by having a ground lease with us, we will continue to stay along with that homeowner. And that's another product that most people can't offer. And we'll be able to do that, because to be able to capture that long-term wealth, there is some work involved, and we want to make sure we have that shared equity plan in place.
Okay, great. We have a question from Mr. Davis. Who will provide the maintenance and repairs for the rental units?
So you mean for the opt-in owner occupied program? Ms. Davis,
it's not defined. I was assuming that maybe he's talking about the Stowe rental units.
I believe those are going to be new builds. So that's going to have, they're going to bid that out to a general contractor, and whoever has the best possible offer, they will be chosen to do the work. They will be required that 30% of that contract goes to a minority or women business-owned enterprise. And they will have some really strict regulations to follow, but I believe it's going to be a new build. So when it comes to property maintenance and management, they will have to hire a HUD-approved property management agent. For units that size, it will most likely be a Belmont or a Delta Development, but that process also has to be bid out as well, and that has not been chosen.
Okay, thank you. The next question from Ms. Marshall. Any plans for a freestanding community center?
Ooh, good question. So one of the things that we are doing in building partnerships this year is that we want to work with the entities that you already have in place, and just kind of strengthen them the best way that we can. That's why we're trying to get as many national dollars as we can to make sure that we're supporting the organizations that you already trust. We're going to try our best not to build new when we don't have to. If there's a partner just that needs support, then we want to make sure that we provide them the support they need to be able to provide you those services. But along those lines, we will be working, and I believe he's on the call today with Dr. Cashaw, but we will be bringing the mobile food truck, which will be providing people access to healthy groceries and food, and that should be starting during the summer, and there'll be more information about that shortly. But to my knowledge, there will be community spaces available for commercial properties along Michigan, but I don't know if any of them are earmarked for a community center.
Thank you. We have another comment from Ms. Warble, and that definitely her question/comment goes into the stewardship. So I think that's something that we can take offline and get back to you if that's okay. And then I'm just going to go to the next one. The next question, it looks like here, is from Lorna Peterson. Historic preservation is a mission of multiple FB organizations, and is also important to the Green Code and part of the city comprehensive plan. How does the COT see itself aligning with the historic preservation goals of the city of Buffalo?
That is an awesome question. And so I'm not going to throw my fellow board member under the bus, Jesse Fisher here, but I believe I was sent the architectural designs for the Fruit Belt via email. We have since put the brochure up on the website. One of the things that we're going to be working with Preservation Buffalo Niagara is to come up with design standards for the Fruit Belt, so that when people are looking to do other developments, again, as Ronnie said on the thing, we're not against development. It's just, it has to be the appropriate type. We want to be able to say, this is what the community has come up with. We do have a design standards, and this is what we would like to see. And then we just got to hold people's feet to the fire to make sure that that's actually done. We're hoping to mimic what they've done in the Elmwood Village, but then the green code came out, so it kind of took their designs away. But we can definitely see that moving forward. We have a great relationship with the council member to see if we can actually get it adopted. So we would really love to see that if you're looking to do anything in the Fruit Belt, it needs to match these design standards. And you guys deserve it. You've been there long enough and you know what you want to see. So we just want to be able to see how that happens. If folks want to be on that committee, we will definitely let you know how to plug into that after the question and answers.
Okay, we have a question from the president of the Fruit Belt Advisory Council, Ms. Barr, checking in to see how many properties would need to be demolished to provide the project at 326 High Street. I understand that the house on Peach behind the property is also connected with the apartments.
Actually, the property on Peach is privately owned. And it's owned, the original owner has passed and has deeded the property to the niece that's there. The niece wants to move. And they have, if you look on the MLS or just locally, they have listed the property for sale. And that was something that they were going to do before any talks about the 50-unit development. That's just because the house needs a significant amount of repair, and for her and her 3 kids, that's just a lot to bear. And that, again, that was before our opt-in home repair program. So they have listed it for sale, and I do not know if anyone has purchased it or not, but it is not attached to that lot. Oh, she asked about how many properties need to be,
will be demolished.
Demolished.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of that, but I will definitely get back to you offline because I don't want to misspeak. But I believe some parcels where the homeowners, the duplexes are going to go, are all vacant land at this time. But I'll find out more details and then get back to you.
Okay, great. A few more questions here. Ms. Nichols, will the rent to own multifamily units be available to the residents of the Fruit Belt or designated to the disabled / mental health?
So first, great question. So we don't know who's going to be handling their rent-up process, but most likely, because we're the community-based organization, they will leave that portion up to us. I am certified by the state to do affirmative marketing. So I will make sure that we can do set aside. So we can say that we want whatever 10% of the units to be earmarked to income qualified residents in the Fruit Belt. But the one thing that I'm concerned about, we just got to make sure that we're not displacing people. So if you have an owner occupied double, or you have rental property in the Fruit Belt and this is new, and then your people move from there, then that leaves you with a vacancy. So we would want to make sure that there's a plan, and we just don't have this mass vacancy of occupied units in the Fruit Belt causing more challenges. But we can definitely make sure that we can be at the table when it comes to the affirmative marketing piece to make sure that we're not leaving people behind. In terms of, are there going to be units set aside for the disabled and the mentally ill? Usually that comes into place when you are trying to get points. I believe when you're submitting a state application, which I've done these a million times, you have to pick a target audience. I am not clear if the target audience is the frail, it's called frail elder, so it mostly would go towards seniors, and the other one is folks who are developmentally delayed. If you do pick a group like that, you do have to make sure you have a housing services agreement with a group that is known to provide services to those people. So your application would not be funded if you don't prove that you have the right partners in place to make sure that those people are provided the services they need. Because at the end of the day, we're working on a built environment. We do not provide those kind of level of services. So there's been no application submitted, so that's why I don't know if they have a target audience other than folks that are low to moderate income. But if if they do present an application, obviously you will be notified as to what the target population will be. And we will all be notified at that point, because right now none of us are.
Okay, thank you. And some of the questions, if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna try
Lump
to
them together.
lump them together because some of them are the same question. And I guess there's a huge concern regarding the parking plan for the project, and what the transportation is going to look like for people who are not mobile or who cannot afford cars. How does the COT plan to remedy this? Not everyone drives, not everyone owns and can afford a car or multi-cars for a family. So yeah, and then Jennifer asks us the same thing. How would the handling arrangements work on Grape Street?
Yeah, these are great questions. And again, you all live in this community, you know what you need most. I did have some folks that weren't able to join because they have some medical things going on this evening. And they also asked if we could have any say to bring the Aurora bus line back, because a lot of people depended on that bus route. I think they told me it was 29.
The 29.
Yeah, I think there was 29 that a lot of people called in saying we really depended on that bus route. It allowed us to be able to access other parts of the city, and now it's not there. But they know that there's some work going on in Michigan. Like, well, what's happening? So I will myself and the board president Zaid, we will do a joint email to the councilman to figure out, and to a contact that we have at the NFTA to figure out what was the reasoning for removing that. Was it temporary, and when can it be brought back? As soon as we find out information, we'll definitely let you all know, especially those who attended this meeting, because that was a pressing question. In regards to the parking plan, I know you've all heard this until you're blue in the teeth, so I'm blue in the face. So I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm just going to make sure I state the facts, which is the green code does not detail that you have to have off-street parking per unit that you're providing. Now, the question that I have is that since we have some duplexes that are going to go into home ownership, most people, when you're owning a home, you do have the resources to also own a vehicle. And so where's that vehicle going to go? These are great questions. And these are things that we definitely need to think about, because this is as Zay said in the intro video, this is something that has never been done before. So we definitely have to think about that, and how that's going to work out for people. And you're right, this is a pedestrian community, and people are used to walking. And so we have to figure out how to make that work, but also know that often when we're working with people that are 60% to 80% area median income, they also too don't often own cars. And before that law was in place, myself at Heart of City, we put in all this parking in one of our rehabs, and you can do donut holes in the parking lot because none of our folks can afford to own a car. So there's always an issue with that. And Allentown also has a huge issue with parking. I know you guys have those residential permits things, but there's still problems with folks from the medical campus still clogging up your parking. This has been an ongoing issue, but we definitely need to make sure that that's tightened up. And again, as I said, there's been no application submitted. So when we find out more about that one, as our members and as our residents, we'll make sure that you know just as much as we do. So it didn't answer your question, but I'm trying to give you what I do know for sure.
There's a concern about the asbestos removal, and this is from Ms. Barr. Is there info on what money or what amount the rentals of the project would rent for?
So because the application hasn't been submitted, I have not, nor has the board been exposed to a budget. And so I don't know what the rents are going to go for. I can share with you what HUD dictates what rents should go for. There's a spreadsheet that I have no problem sharing to you directly so that you know what they would suggest the going rents go for. I believe for a studio, it's $600. And then it goes up from there. I believe we're only doing up to 3 bedrooms. So I think the most that you could charge for that one with low home rents is $1,096. So again, I'll make sure that I provide that with folks. Now to the asbestos question, I'm very sensitive to that, especially lead. There is money through the city of Buffalo right now for hot areas with environmental hazards. Heart of the City Neighborhoods is doing, if it's asbestos siding, we're removing that siding and replacing it in kind, but with a much more sustainable material. I know that there's some daycares in the neighborhood that have called us saying that there's neighbors on either side that have houses with peeling paint. So we're aware of that, and we're trying to make sure people don't get cited to housing court because that can be an issue, that we're providing a direct solution. And again, with our owner occupied opt-in rehab program, those are matters that we can address. Although I can tell you from the folks that we're helping now, they don't want to see stuff just on the outside. They have a lot of interior work that needs to get done. But definitely, if that's an issue when we're doing our testing, we will address that right away. Again, we can only do that on owner-occupied homes, whether it's a single, double, or triple. We can't do that on commercial because that's not how our funding is dictated.
And I just want to make sure we get to all the questions because I know I skipped over some. I believe there was a question about will we be producing a newsletter? Is there a newsletter available to FBCOT and community members?
Do we have a product for you? It's just not here yet, but it's coming. That's why I said we have these consultants. We are working to make sure that we're doing as much engagement as possible. Just like this meeting, it will happen every 4th Thursday of the month. So whatever I don't get to tonight, next month we're gonna, whatever I can't get to, we'll make sure that we constantly are communicating. Again, unity is important, collaboration, and having your voices heard. You guys ask some dynamic questions, and in a few more minutes, you'll have another another time to ask some additional questions. If there's anything that I can answer really quickly in the last minute, let me know.
Does the FBCOT have any plans to assist and aid business owners, particularly minority business owners?
Good question. So we are working on a product for people that are working along the commercial lines. I'm hoping that we can bring in some of that Buffalo billion money on the commercial corridors, which most likely probably will be Michigan at first. But stay tuned on that because they haven't opened the next round of funding. I'm going to be working directly with the block clubs on that one because you guys would have to help us figure out what businesses need to be improved and if Michigan is the right street. So please stay tuned because I would definitely be turning to you all for help on that one.
And We have another question in the chat, but I'll save it for the next go round of questions and answers if we have an opportunity.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. But thank you, everyone, for the questions and concerns that you were able to provide. Nothing will go ignored. If we do not follow up within this presentation, you will hear back from either someone on the staff or the board regarding your question or concern.
Thank you so much.
You got it. So now we're going to move on to membership. We have brought on Felicia, who also sits as the executive director of Black Love Resists Buffalo. I probably butchered that, but she's not here, so she can't call me out on it. Again, we want to continue on with development without displacement. We want land liberation for self-determination. We want to have that as something that we not only say, but something that we do, and a form for us to keep in the front of us when we're looking at development projects. So for those of you who are seeing this for the first time, we have this cute young man here that gives you a little blurb to distract you from me probably butchering the governance structure. But to be considered a community land trust, we have to have something called a tripartite board, which means that 33% of the board are people who hold a ground lease. So as you saw from our programming, we have an opt-in program for the owner-occupied rehab. So when those folks are finished the work, we will have that deed covenant restriction that we hold the land trust, and they still are the owner of the property on top of that. So they would get a seat on the board because they would hold a lease. They would be a lessee. 33%, the other 33% will be general members. And for us, that will be members who are residents in the areas that we serve. And just a quick little bit about this, as you know, we are called the Fruitvale Community Land Trust. And so right now, many of you who live in the Fruit Belt are residents or considered members already, general members. But we have been really great at expanding our service area so that, again, we can stay concentrating on making sure that no community, and historically African-American communities, have to go through development and displacement. So we can talk a little bit more about that at another time. And then the other 33% is from public representatives, and that does not mean political officials. It just means people who are outside of the service area but have a vested interest in development and what the CLT stands for. So currently, the FBCLT consists of two types of memberships, where we have the regular members who can vote, and that's why we're going to have our annual meeting the 4th Saturday in July, and that's when you'll be able to vote on new members. We have some members on our board of directors that have been founding members, and they've served more than one term, and it's time for them to cycle off. The benefit of that is that we always keep things nice and fresh new ideas and other perspectives. So when we do the annual meeting, good question, Ronnie. I know I'm going off task about how many seats are open. We'll get to your question and answers on that one. So we will have some seats open in July. And when those seats are open, we would like them to be filled by folks who are our members. And we're going to go through, with the help of Felicia, a real voting process, ballots. We're going to have people present their profiles and why they think they should sit on the board, because at the end of the day, these folks will be representing your voice, and we want to make sure we have the right people at the table. And they do have to pay dues. The supporting members of folks who do not live in the Fruit Belt, and again, this is our current membership structure. And these are folks that might own businesses and want to contribute a little bit more to make sure that we stay sustained. And I do want to say that we have some really dynamic members. I have not met all of you. I have talked to some of you, and I can't wait for you all to see what we have planned for our membership and how we plan to stay engaged with all of you. Okay. So currently, we have, as our regular members, which you know are people who reside in the Fruit Belt, we have 47, and then we have 64 supporting members. And again, that's made up of people who are not in the Fruit Belt, who do not live in the Fruit Belt, but are businesses that, you know, maybe in the city of Buffalo. We also have members that might have lived, that used to live in the Fruit Belt, but have moved to Florida and other places. And because they technically don't live in the Fruit Belt, they're considered a supporting member, but they want to make sure that the Fruit Belt continues to prosper. So that's how our membership structure is at the moment. And we're going to be working on having a more robust membership plan. We're going to allow also people to have multiple ways to pay for their membership. Again, the pandemic hit everybody in different ways, and it's been really difficult for folks. This is not going to be just sort of a moneymaker kind of thing, but this is a way for people to have a voice. So we're going to have multiple ways for you to pay, you know, monthly or however works for you, because we understand that people have had really tough times and we want to be able to support that. We want to grow our membership. We want to have our membership who are on this call and those who aren't able to make it to, you know, bring a person, you know, turn it into a church service. Can you bring a friend the next time, add another person? Again, we want to make sure that the residents are on as considered regular members, but also are engaged, are empowered, and are open to some of the leadership programs that we can offer you. If you weren't aware of that, those are programs that we can offer, again, as we have a more robust membership way for you to opt in. Next slide. So some of the membership privileges. One, well, this I wouldn't consider our meeting a privilege, more as a right, because you need to be stay connected to what's going on. Leadership development opportunities, like I said, there are constant things that we're being emailed from other community land trusts around the country. We are plugged in to a national source. So when they have leadership development opportunities, we want to make sure that we open those opportunities up to you. Obviously, the Fruit Belt Community Land Trust will use our financial resources to pay for that, so that cost is not a barrier to you. So I think that would be great. And then we also want to make sure that you're here helping us with community-based relationship building, because we can't be all places all at the same time. As you can see from our photos, it's only 3 staff right now. And so we are going to be hoping that if you take part in some of these leadership opportunities, that we can create different committees and task force that you all feel empowered to lead yourself. We want you to make sure that you understand that the decision-making power is not just having, you know, I can make this decision, I can make that, but we want to make sure that you're making informed decisions and that you're prepared when something's coming into the neighborhood. You know how to mobilize, you know what to mobilize against, and you all are speaking the same language. This is for lessees only. I'm just going to speed through that just because we don't have anyone to partake in that right now. But we will, because we have the 2 homeowners in place. And then when we finish up our rehabs with the owner-occupied opt-in program, they will be, you know, offered a seat as a lessee on our board. But as you can see, they have a 99-year long community benefit. More power to them. I will not be around to enforce that. But again, that ties back to our long-term wealth and how we want to make sure that the land trust knows that we're here and we're committed. And now, question and answers. Any questions about membership, or if we're not getting questions about membership, we can maybe go back to some of the questions from before and use this time to answer those. Brandy, I default to your leadership.
Sure. So I'll go to what we just went over, the governance. And I know you need a drink because I would, Stephanie, so we'll take a few minutes. So Ms. Barr says, how soon will ballots be available for the board and how soon are we looking for new board members?
Do you want to take that one or you want me to get going for that?
I can take a poke, and if you want to expand, so within our bylaws, applications are due 10 days prior to our annual meeting. Since that date is still tentative, I believe you said it's the third Wednesday in July.
It's going to be the fourth Saturday, so I think it's July 24th.
Okay, so the applications will be due 10 days prior to that date. So if you know of anyone, I would say, the sooner the better to start getting those applications in. Even if you want to become a member, you can do that now. You can do that today, actually. So please keep in mind that we are constantly evaluating our bylaws to present at the annual meeting to vote on. So please keep that in mind. So if you ever have a question, a concern of what we're doing or how you want something done, feel free to put that in the chain to one of the board of directors.
Right.
So.
And as when I came on as interim executive director, one of the things that they shared with me is that transparency. So we're going to make sure that, and that's why we brought on Felicia, because we want to handle this in the best way possible. So we want the person to present their profile. We want you guys to know who the persons are that are interested in possibly joining the board and what they feel that they can contribute. And so that's why we're going to make sure that we have help to make sure that we get that out. So you do have 10 days before, like Randy said, to get the applications in, but we're going to make sure a month before that we're presenting profiles and we're doing everything like that so that we can spend more time on our annual meeting having fun and eating good food. And having a little time for governance. Folks want to know how many seats. If my numbers serve me right, I believe there's 4, Randy, seats that are going to come up open.
So
right.
It would be president, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary.
Yes, so pretty much the executive officer positions are going to be open. And because those positions are executive officers and that connects you to our finances and other key things that are important to the organization's health, we're going to make sure that we do it the right way, where we post your profile, and we want to make sure that people feel confident in making the decisions that they're going to make on the 24th. Also, remember, there will be new seats that are automatically open for people who have signed a ground lease with the Fruitvale Community Land Trust. So those seats will automatically be open, and that time we will actually be able to represent a tripartite board, because we'll have lessees, we'll have residents, and we'll have folks from the public.
And before, I think that was all that we have for board questions and concerns. And so before we segue back to any other concerns that we got into before, I just wanted to shout out our former ED director, India Walton. She is here with us. She has been—
Oh, goody, because I can't see anything.
Yeah, she's been lighting up our chat, and we're happy to see old and new faces here too. So thank you, India, for joining us, and thank you for lending some of your expertise from when you were still a part of the family, right? So we never let that go. We never let you go. It's always like that. It's like Cousin Pete. All right, guys. So I'm just gonna surf quickly back up to some of the questions that we got before. Ricardo Washington, and I don't know if he's still here on the call, but it looks like he just has some concerns regarding the multi-unit project. Number one, parking is an issue in this area for this new facility. Number two, how is question of tenants getting groceries being addressed if they do not have vehicles? Closest market is over a mile away. Number 3, has question regarding tenants that will be there. Do individuals with sexual predatory qualify for this disability as you classified by group?
So I'll answer in reverse because that's the way it went in my head. Number 1, if the proposed development will likely be funded through federal and state dollars, and HUD does require that we do we have some questions on the application that does a criminal background check. You cannot permit housing to folks who have been convicted of pedophilia behavior or violent acts against the elderly, women, or there's one other category that I'm missing here. But unfortunately, what we can do is if one of those folks would apply, we would disclose that, and we will let them know other resources that might be available to them. Not only that, we have Futures Academies, we have schools, and we do not have the supports to provide that individual who's been convicted of those things. Oh, good. Yeah, and folks who are, thank you, Jen, those who were convicted for meth-related crimes. So again, that's just a non-starter. That's a HUD thing. They're the feds, and we got to follow that. So that wouldn't happen. The other question was access to healthy food. I understand that we live in a food desert in the fruit belt, and that's why we have this new partnership. And I thank Dr. Cashaw for helping us out because we needed a space to be able to offer. The Massachusetts Avenue project is bringing over the healthy food truck, so they'll have access to get fresh fruits and vegetables. They do take SNAP benefits. So again, we're meeting the needs of people wherever you are. And so that program, I think it goes from May to December, and it's 1 day a week. The complex, to my understanding, is not going to be geared to seniors. I don't really know the targeted group. Again, as I shared before, usually when you have a senior complex, you do have something, a van service built in so that you can take them weekly to their groceries, or so they can have access to get their accessorides or those kind of mobile things. So because I don't know those details, I can't say that is a product that we will be able to offer. But again, we need to follow up about that bus route. We are making this one possibility accessible, having that mobile food truck that does take SNAP benefits. So we're not the end all be all. We want to work with our partnerships, and we want to make sure that we're again providing. If we can't provide the program ourselves, we want to support the business that can. So if there is, I know folks have talked about the African Heritage Food Co-op. If that does come to fruition, we want to make sure that that is there and is running in a way that allows people to have access to food.
Stephanie, just a kind of a piggyback question to go along with that. Has the CLT investigated any other sources of funding? For example, Urban Development Action Area, State Law Article 16 can provide 20 years of tax abatement for a developer. This could bypass the sex offender concern. And to be transparent, I don't think this has been addressed by the board. So,
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is that because no applications have been submitted, we don't have a total budget. But let's just say the project is $14 million. I'm just throwing this number out there. You would have to show that there's a layer of resources. And that means that, you have to make sure that you comply with all the resources that are going to be layered into that project to make that development happen. Again, because there has been no application submitted, I don't have a dollar amount for what it is, but most likely a project of this scale and size will largely be funded by the state. So and it will have an investment partner, and it will have a lot of moving parts. That I know just from my years of affordable housing development. But again, I don't believe all of those partners have been put in place, and that is why the application has not been submitted as yet.
And just to shift focus here, because I want to go back to, I believe it was Ms. Warble's question or concern, and it speaks to stewardship. And then there was also another concern regarding stewardship. It says from Jill, I live near a vacant lot near Rose and High. Can somebody clean it? And before you respond to that, Stephanie, I just want to go to the one before. Just give me 1 second. But you guys are asking some very dynamic and robust questions.
What are we going to do in April?
Absolutely. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. She says, maybe this is a bit off topic. If so, my apologies, but Reverend Chapman's house owned by the church group, We See God at 180 Marbury is overrun by skunks, and Colleen Pridgen did nothing. Plus, talking to Reverend through a mutual acquaintance did nothing. What is the best way to solve issues without ratting him out to 311? So yeah, just to go back to Jill's question and Ms. Warble's, how can the COT help steward cleaning and abandonment concerns, if you will, in the community?
So one of the things that we have not talked on tonight, but we'll definitely talk in future meetings, is that other CLTs around the country, they offer a what they call like a blue and green stewardship program. So to work on vacant land, to clean and green them. And some people are doing things about the water management in areas as well, because again, one of the biggest things with the land trusts are having, you usually have lots of vacant land. Right now, the land trust and some community partnership for the public good, and actually the city of Buffalo, we're working on a land disposition policy, which would pretty much tell the city how we would like to see them utilize vacant land that they own. As you all know, that the land trust does not have ownership of all those vacant lots. They do want things to go through something called BENLIC, which is a land bank, but also they don't have properties that the city own either. So when we can get that land disposition policy in place, again, that's when we want our membership who are engaged and educated and have that leadership behind them to say, okay, guys, we need 50 of y'all to show up to say, why can't we adopt this land disposition policy? Because if you own this land and you're not doing anything with it, we're the ones dealing with the rodents. We're the ones dealing with the high weeds and grass, and we don't deserve to live like this. I also know from somebody, as a person that suffers with asthma, if you don't have that pest management under control, it just exacerbates your lung issues. Given that we're still in the pandemic with COVID, which was also an attack on your lungs and your respiratory system, this is not like somebody just complaining. This is a significant problem. And so I want to make sure that we do get that moving forward. It's a long-winded answer to your question, just because you got me pumped up, because I do not like, I won't go for that. In regards to vacant property that is not kept up, I understand the reservation about not putting things in 311, especially if folks are much more politically connected. It may not go anywhere, but that might be an opportunity if you are a member who asks that question to maybe suggest, once we come up with a flyer about our home rehab program, it looks like you might benefit from a home rehab program. Give them our information and this then allow them to see if they would partake. If they don't, then I think we have to follow those resources of the 311, because again, those vacant houses are breeding grounds for drug activity, crime, and that nobody has time for that. We're trying to move forward, and that's taking us way back. So that is a problem.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And just another reminder, just questions regarding how much it is to be a member. It is $25 a year to be a member, $100 if you're a corporation. So that's just something to keep in mind. You can become a member at any time. You do not have to wait until the annual meeting. So last question, comment in the chat from Ms. Barr. Oh, I lied. Maybe it's not our last question, comment. But I'll try to do this quick. Ms. Barr says, I work with Bus Transit Riders United, also known as BTRU. And I can tell you that the 29 has been permanently canceled and the NFTA is currently planning their 4th round of cuts. Ricardo Washington wants to know where is the money? Where is the money? We all want to know that. Where should he send the money for his dues for membership?
You can do it online because we have our new, we have our amazing staff. We set up a new online system where you can do it online and it will be easy breezy. And if it wasn't easy breezy, then email us and let us know your process so that we can make sure that's done. We have received folks mailing things in, and on our website, it has our address at the Jefferson Avenue address. So any way that you want to support, just let us know and we will make sure that we do that. And the good thing is we have board members that live in the area. So again, if you don't want to deal with the stamp, try online. You don't want to try that, just give us a call and we'll figure it out.
The address that we put in for the application for the mobile market, can you share that, Stephanie?
So we use Lindita, if you're there, if you can put that information in the chat to answer that question, that would be great. And Lindita is a person, so she see, there you go. It's at 158 Maple Street.
Thank you.
Any last minute questions before we turn it over to strategic planning? Nope. Okay, then I will stop it. Oh, Jamila, can you stop it? And then go to the next one. Yay, strategic planning. So I can take a break, right, Jen? I will introduce Jen Kaminsky. As I shared before, we do need a visioning process. We want to know which way we're going. We want to know what we do, how we do it, and how we're going to get there. And the best way to do that is to have someone that's going to help us through that process. And we have Jen Kaminsky that will, I'll turn it over to her for a short presentation. And then we will have room for last minute question and answers. And you all will get back to your beautiful evening with your family. So I will put myself on mute. Jen, it's your show.
Okay, can someone make me a co-host so I can share my screen? Oh, and you already did that, great. Okay, so, okay, and great, we're sharing that. Okay, hopefully everyone can see a slide that says, why create a strategic plan? Can someone give me a thumbs up of yay? Okay. So hi, as Stephanie said, my name is Jen Kaminsky. I've met a number of you over the past several years. You might have previously seen me in my former role as the Director of Planning and Community Development at Push Buffalo, and I led their community development and affordable housing programs. I also, before that, was in New York City creating shared equity affordable housing co-ops with a group called the Urban Homesteading Assistance Board. And before that was in Boston and with a community development corporation called the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Development Corporation, and worked on a mixed income home ownership project and a first time home buyer project. So I've still learning lots of things, but I've worked on a lot of affordable housing over the last number of years. And now I'm moved into community development and affordable housing consulting. And so I'm really excited to work with FBCLT on the strategic plan. I'm also a resident of the city of Buffalo. I live in the well, our block club, and I'm the president of the block club, is the Oxford Square Block Club. So we're Oxford, Harvard, and I'm on Horton. So not in the Fruit Belt, but a couple miles away. So that's me. If you have any questions during my presentation, just put them in the chat and I can answer them at the end. And so, yeah, so as Stephanie said, FBCLT is working on a strategic plan to create that roadmap for the future. And it's pretty typical that most nonprofits create a strategic plan every 3 to 5 years to kind of think through what they're doing, how they're doing, and who they're doing it with. And FBCLT has had so much growth and success over the last few years, and that this process and document will create that roadmap for the next set of years. And the things we're going to be doing are going through the mission statement, values, and vision to ensure that they still fit with what FBCLT is doing, and then kind of clearly convey the group's identity and their work, as well as how they do the work and why versus other groups in Buffalo. We'll be reviewing the current programs to make sure they're the right ones, and also are there new ones that the group should take on, and who they should be partnering with or not partnering with, and making sure that there's not overlap with programs that another group is doing really well. And part of what we're doing tonight and is learning about what you all think and feel about the CLT, so that voice and feedback can be incorporated, so that, again, FBCLT is doing the work that people actually need. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. So this is just a little, again, thinking about what strategic planning is. The plan is going to be including 3 different types of strategies. So there's kind of organizational, programmatic, and operational. And if we start from the top, the organizational, so who is FBCLT? The mission, vision, trends that they're engaging with, who else does this work, partners, and the kind of strategies are things like, should they be, continue to work with existing partners like STEL and Habitat for Humanity and Benwick in the city? Are there new partners out there that they should be working with? And, expanding where programs and services are offered. Those are kind of the organizational strategies. Then there's programmatic. So that's informing what FBCLT should be doing. So all the programs and services. So the things that Stephanie talked about tonight, like the opt-in rehab program or the shared equity home ownership. So these kinds of strategies are exploring a new program or revamping an existence one. And then at the base is the operational piece. So how does FBCLT do the work? So that's around, hiring staff, implementing specific board training programs, or creating a new membership database. Those are like operational strategies. So I say all of this to say these are the kinds of things that we're thinking about with this plan, and having it will give FBCLT this clear roadmap and a greater understanding of who, what, and how it does its work. So there's the part where y'all come in. We have put together a survey because we need to hear from you as to what you need, what you want in this organization, what programs and services you think are most necessary and important, how you want to be involved in FBCLT, and how you want FBCLT to continue to do this work. So I am going to, assuming I can find the chat on the many things open on my screen. Okay, at some point I'm going to put the link. The link is there, but that doesn't help you because you can't copy it because you're just seeing it. But I will put it in the chat when I can find the chat window. But I am going to go through. Oh wait, here we are, chat. Okay. So there's the link to the survey. It will probably go out to you on email. We'll be on Facebook, so there will be many ways to find it. But there is the link. But going back to the presentation. Okay, so just some of the questions, because as we learned, a little under half of you on this call don't live in the Fruit Belt. So we want to know where you live so that we understand, maybe there are a lot of people in Maston Park or Hamlin Park who want certain types of services. So it helps us to know where you live. I created a drop down with a bunch of city neighborhoods, but I also recognize that not every neighborhood is there. So if you don't see your neighborhood, click other, and then you'll be prompted to go to a screen where you can write in your neighborhood. So for example, by this map, my neighborhood would be Elmwood Bryant. That's not my neighborhood, so I would go to other and write in Oxford Square. Another question you're going to see, so you're going to see FBCLT's mission and then ask, and this is one of the kind of value propositions, and we're going to ask you to, there'll be a bunch of these, and you're going to just ask you how important they are to you. So if they're very important, you're going to give them 5 hearts. If they're not important, you're going to give it 1 heart. But again, that's helping us to helping FBCLT to understand the things that are their values, are those resonating with people. This one, there are a bunch of different programs. Not all of them FBCLT currently offers, but maybe there's a real desire in the community for FBCLT to do that, or to find a partner that does that. So there are a bunch of different programs. We would like you to choose up to 4 of those that are most important. And maybe, you know, commercial space is your thing. Maybe you only want to pick 1, but you can pick up to 4. So again, they're knowing what's resonating with people. If you don't live in, well, I guess we live in, if you do, hopefully if you do live in the Fruit Belt, you still want to see FB Community Land Trust in your neighborhood. But if you don't, you know, want to see, you live in Hamlin Park, do you want to see the land trust in your neighborhood, or you're not sure and you want more information? And back on the program piece, there will be a screen after that. If you didn't see a program that you think is really important, you can write that in. We know many of you are involved with the CLT and want to be involved. So there are a couple, we'd like to know, you know, how you'd like to be involved. There's also, if you click other, that gives you an option to write in. But maybe you want to attend events and learn more. Maybe you want to be part of this outreach and organizing piece to inform your neighbors, or do some organizing around development without displacement. Or maybe you want to be interviewed as part of the strategic plan. You could write that in too. There are a number of people who I'm going to be reaching out to later to be like, tell me everything about FBCLT, or really anything else. So that is the survey. We're going to be, you know, as Stephanie mentioned, there will be lots of different engagement opportunities. We're going to be doing this over the next several months with the goal of having the plan done by end of August. And yeah, we're going to be talking to lots of different stakeholders, including many of you, as well as people at the city and the state and other funders and other partners. And yeah, that's my presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
So people can ask questions on this piece or just do general questions, whatever makes the most sense.
I think if you stop sharing, I think we have a little clock to start the question and answers.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a whole thing going on here. Okay, we want to be cognizant of the time. We're actually not going to leave the whole 20 minutes for question and answers. We're going to leave it for 10. But for right now, anyone have any, you know, now that you've had the full presentation and we've had a chance to talk to one another, any questions or anything you felt that you're just like, oh, I just had one more thing about that one that we can answer before we wrap up?
There was a question in the chat from Ms. Barr. Given that no detailed info is available yet regarding 326 High Street, will the project continue to be presented to the planning board or other areas of City Hall in April?
That is a really good question. I believe that it was supposed to go back April 4th or April, like after Easter. It's supposed to go back, but I believe that they're not going to be presenting again. I believe that there has been some funding rounds that they're waiting to be able to submit an application. And so Yeah, since they didn't present an application, they wouldn't need to go back before planning board at the moment. But I guess when those funding opportunities come back, we would probably see some activity around engaging with the community and the concerns that were raised during those planning board or the public approval process. So planning board and zoning.
And also too, as a board member, I would like to, put that on the board to explore. I believe it was Miss Lorna Peterson that brought up Article 16 about tax abatement, to see, what that qualifies us for with any available funding for the project. Just so we do all our due diligence. And that's something that we take very seriously at the CLT, making sure we look through everything, make sure we're transparent, and we give every option when we're doing development. We consider ourselves to be community developers.
Yeah, and also, even though this wasn't part of the presentation, I just wanted to share that this is a fiscally strong organization. I for an organization that's only been around for a few years, and this is to India's credit, the board's credit, really going out there, shaking those trees and bringing in funding that Buffalo hasn't seen before, and bringing in those kind of critical dollars is allowing us to bring the programming that we shared with you today. So I would, I don't want to say trust the process, but know that we're going to make sure that if any development is happening, that we're going to always stay above board, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the land trust stays around. It is needed. The opportunity of generational wealth in communities that have often just been extracted from, we're just not going to continue to have that happen. So we want to make sure that we stay fiscally strong. That's why having great governance is important, getting in these board positions. And this is not easy work. So when you get on the board, it's not just like, oh, I just get to press a button and make decisions all day. I'm pretty sure if the board members would go off mute, they would tell you, oh, it's way more intense than that. It's a lot of work. It's because these board members, I don't know if folks know, they're not paid. They all have full-time commitments so that they can take care of their households. So, and this is a lot of work. Doing a land trust where the closest land trust is in Albany is a lot of work. So we have a lot of people watching us, and we want to make sure we're good stewards of the resources that we have received.
Absolutely. And when it comes to, and I'll just pose this question from Ms. Nichols, because she said, is the board okay with demolishing 326 High versus rehabbing it? Also the property behind 326 High. Oops, I'm sorry. The property behind 326 High on Tree Street is solid and does not need to be demolished. And I'm sure other members and residents on the call are, maybe want to know the position of preservation, what our position is on preservation.
Sure. So as I've said before, we have Preservation Buffalo Niagara on our board. So trust and believe that question is always raised. If we can preserve, we will. In areas that we can't, then we can't. So just to reiterate, the property on Peach is privately owned, and the person has put that property up for sale. I believe they're looking for between $70,000 to $80,000 for the sale of that property, because the person that currently lives there, she no longer wants to live in that particular property. So she may be relocating to another place in the Fruit Belt, but she does not want to live there. So I don't know what was the whole reason behind that, but that is not one of the parcels that are part of the full plan, and nor have we muscled that person to make them sell or anything, because they're not, that wasn't the deal. They went and did that on their own. It's been a family that has lived in the community for a significantly long time. But again, as all of you know, sometimes we can't get our young people to stay and we try as we might. So that was that was a personal decision there that wasn't related to the development. What was the other part of the question? Oh, do we have to demolish that property? I believe engineering has gone in and has deemed that that property is not structurally sound for the extent of development it will need to keep it around. However, I am not an engineer, nor do I play one on TV. So if we had something from our from the architect or someone from the development team that can support that, then obviously we can make sure that that's clear. The one thing that we also don't want to do, and like I said, the organization is fiscally strong. We do not want to be throwing significant taxpayers' dollars to preserve a property that would allow more amenities for the tenant if it was a new build. But this also gives us an opportunity to make sure that if we do have to do a new build, that it can go within those guidelines that we talked about before. That's on the website, the architectural design guidelines for the Fruitvale. Ronnie, I don't know the engineering company. I don't know all the players in the development team. Again, because they were not prepared to submit an application. I believe there's probably room for bringing on some of those folks. I would always, go with Watts and go with the ones that I know of. I don't know if Watts is or is not involved as our engineer on this project, or if the architect has engineering in-house, because I know some people have done that to save costs. So again,
Stephanie, just to jump in really quick, because I just got a direct message from Mr. Brungy, and this is something that hasn't been brought up, and I know we're just wrapping up.
Yeah.
So community inclusion, employment opportunities, are they being leveraged for this project? Is there anything being proposed?
So usually you will have those things proposed if that's what the community-based organization does as a program. So the Land Trust does not do youth employment. They do not do apprenticeship programs, but that doesn't mean that we could not ask the to-be hired general contractor if they would be interested in having some portions of the work through an apprenticeship program. I know that McKinley does that, but they do have it supervised. So I would say, I can't say yes because I don't know who the general contractor is. Again, there's a lot of questions regarding the development team, but maybe that's one of the reasons why the application hasn't been submitted, because all of those pieces haven't been put together. I would say those are great things to offer, but usually that's the automatic when that's what the organization does. And we do not, to my knowledge, offer those programming, but that doesn't mean we couldn't require that maybe they have a portion of the development as an apprenticeship for youth that are interested in that, or engage with them, or just work with a program that already has that, has a collected group, and then they can work on that. But again, I can't say yes to that because I don't know the full development team. So in the last few minutes, I know that there's so many buzzing questions, and we definitely want to get to them. This is not a one-off. I will see you all again. My number has not changed. I will ask Lindita to leave my number, my office number with my extension, so that if there needs to be some conversations offline, we can definitely do that. And to close out, I wanted to provide some just quick questions, because we want to make sure we're doing the best we can. We want to make sure that we are doing, that we are providing you guys information that you want. So we have some questions here that we will actually, just to take a few seconds. We would like your feedback on tonight's meeting. We're not going to give the survey results tonight. We'll give that when we post things upline. But if you can just take your time to answer these quick questions as we close out, we would greatly appreciate that.
And for anyone who is not able to see the chat and you called in and you're interested in becoming a member, excuse me, you can address to 1327 Jefferson Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14208. If you have questions about membership, or if you want to send your membership donation of $25 as an individual or $100 as a corporation. Again, 1327 Jefferson Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14208.
And all answers are, you are anonymous, so we will not know who you are, but we do ask you to fill out these questions for us if you don't mind. And like I said, we will report the results of that. I want to thank you all for spending your evening with us. As the weather gets better, I know it's going to be much harder to hold these, but we look forward to having them in person. Thanks, Ronnie. I thank you all for welcoming me in. You don't know me from a can of spray paint. And like I said, I'm so excited to be a part of the Fruitvale Land Trust and all the potential. There is more to come. Continue staying connected with us. Like us on Facebook. We have Instagram. We're on YouTube. We are everywhere that you are, like a Visa card. So please continue to stay connected with us. Whatever we did not get right, do know that I have a whole board of directors that will make sure I get it right. And so that's the benefit of having that. So we thank you for you guys spending your time with us this evening. Please register again for the next one that will be on the 4th Thursday of the month, and stay tuned to all the social media updates and everything that we're putting on our internet. For those of you who are not connected to internet and want things printed out, please just let us know. We will do our very best to accommodate you. Thank you all and have a great evening.